Welcome to the Healing Social. Little girls, young, free, and naive, to friends, sisters, womanhood in the deep. Life with new experiences gave us new eyes to see. We were just wild and carefree, making memories. But what happens when the life you envision is deferred? When the world as you know it twists and turns into something unimaginable? The journey is tested. It reshapes you, and it reveals the strength you never knew you had. Because healing is transparent and we don't heal alone, I want you to meet my girl Jolie. We grew up together and have had a lifetime of memories. She's one of my sisters. From running the streets without a care to steaming sheets with kids in tow, our lives have transformed in ways that we never imagined. She's the kind of woman that when you call about a crazy idea, she'll probably have bond money waiting for you and a little dinner. These are her stories.
So my name is Jolie Evans. Jolie for short. I am from Southside and South Burbs of Chicago, Illinois. I am a self-employed hairstylist. I have been published in 6 continents. I am a single mother of twin boys. I am 36. So my family, both sides were living in Chicago. Both sides had family that migrated from the South. I see that you feel called to talk about identity, loss, grief. Can you share why this is something that resonates with you? Before I had my children, I was a party girl. I was out here. Like, I graduated college before a majority of my friends, and I was able to work full-time and party full-time. Like, I was in the clubs every day that the club was open pretty much. And so it was interesting redefining myself as a mother, to go from like a party girl, a hot girl, whatever, to like an accidental pregnancy, and then deciding and being called to become a mother, because you know the story. Like, I was like, okay, well, pregnant, I'm gonna go handle it. Go up north, we gonna be cool. And when I went to see about my pregnancy, I was pregnant with twins and they were due on my birthday. I had a moment where I felt like God talked to me. God was like, I gave you this gift. People begging for this gift, and you got this gift on accident. You gonna squander it? And so it was a tough decision because right away I felt like I had gotten a little bit duped. Like, the guy was gung-ho for us, you know, all summer. We partying, we kicking it, we hanging out, we blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, yeah, I'm pregnant, but it's fine, I'm gonna go handle it. And then I was like, hey, so I went to handle it, and it's twins in there due on my birthday. And I feel like God is talking to me. And he really was just like, yeah, so basically, remember my ex I told you I wasn't dealing with no more? We got back together. And I'm just like, when did y'all get back together? And I'm only so many weeks pregnant. Like, yeah, he told me I was ruining his life because he didn't want any more children outside of wedlock, and he was about to ask this girl to marry him. The girl that he told me he wasn't dealing with. We went back and forth for a bit. He sent me off, he blocked me, whatever. And the next thing I heard through friends and people in common was that he married her when I was 5 months pregnant. The funny thing about a traumatic situation like that, when you don't expect your life to change and to change in that kind of way, it's so pivotal, and you don't realize it's pivotal at that moment because you're really just trying to get through it. And so I really was just like, okay, well, I'm in this thing by myself. Here I am, 5 months pregnant with twins. He did not show up. He told me he was coming to the ultrasound appointment. He blocked me by the time I was asking him what time he was coming to town. It was a pivotal moment for me. It was really like, okay, here go young party girl, whatever. I'm outside having a good time, whatever. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to be somebody's mom, to somebody's, and I'm about to do it alone. And so that's a two-part thing, because it's also like I'm grieving who I used to be. I can't be in the club 5 nights a week with 2 kids on the way. You know, I'm not her anymore. But then I also don't know who I'm going to become. And this is not what I saw for myself. Like, who just wakes up in the morning and expects to be somebody's baby mama? Like, nobody wants that. That's not what you want. That whole year, like, if I talked about how much actually happened within that year, I sometimes look back. Now my children are 8, and I sometimes look at that time 8 or 9 years ago, and I'm surprised that I even survived it, because the emotional toll that it took. Like, I got really sick at the end of my pregnancy. I had to give up my apartment, had to move back home. I lost one of my very best friends. Like, she didn't pass away, we just ain't close. The thought that, like, a person that I had been dealing with on and off for years at that point decided that, like, myself or my children weren't enough, and he threw us away, potentially. And then, like, shortly after that, I had my babies. I had a very, very traumatic birth. So much so that I'm not even sure. Well, at this point, I know for a fact that I don't want any more children. And when I picture my life in my 20s, I wanted a house full of kids. I wanted a man. I wanted to be in love. I wanted to be Susie Homemaker. I like to cook. I like to keep a house. I like pets and gardening. And, you know, so I thought, like, okay, one day I'm going to calm down. I'm going to meet me a nice man. We're going to have a bunch of kids. It's going to be good. And even the birth that I had with my children let me know, like, yeah, my life is not going to be what I thought it was going to be. And there's just something to be said for having to decide that, like, okay, so this new person I am, this new life that I'm gonna have, unfortunately, it's not the life that I wanted for myself. But I gotta figure out a way to move on and still, you know, make the best of what I got. The in-between is literally getting through the day by day. Taking every day. For me, honestly, the first year after my kids were born was really, really rough. I come from a single mother, and she's very, very strong, very stoic Black woman. And so when you're raised by a very, very strong mother, even though I was allowed space for emotions, it's like, okay, girl, you could cry, but you got to get your shit together. Like, I distinctly remember having a night. One of my babies cried all night, like literally all night. I had clients the next day. Like, it was just a disaster. And I was up all night by myself with one baby, and he was hollering, and he was waking the other baby up. And at one point, I left the room, and I felt so guilty, because I was like, I can't be around him anymore. Like, I don't want to hurt him. But I have no desire to, at 4 o'clock in the morning, I've been comforting him for the last 6 hours, like since 10. I have no desire to get up in the middle of the night, and I don't want to be with him no more. Like, he could go back. And so I remember that was a really, really low point in new motherhood for me, where I felt inadequate, and I felt like, dang, if I do something, you know, like, this baby ain't go, you know. And so I remember telling my mom about it, and she made a joke. She was like, he broke you in last night, he broke your ass in. And I was just like, girl, I was scared I was gonna hurt him. Like, but when you have, you know, that kind of mom, that's what it is.
Do you think the generation that raised us were even allowed to feel emotions?
So no, I know for a fact my mother was not. I know that my mother's main coping mechanism was, and we see it in this generation too, like, oh, I'm not gonna process this hurt, I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna go get another degree. I'm gonna get a certification. I'm gonna get a new job. I'm gonna buy myself a house. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna just one up these niggas. Like, and I feel like that came from the generation before us, because my mom used to be like, okay, that happened, so now you're gonna pick yourself up by your bootstraps, basically, and you're gonna keep it moving. What you gonna do? Like, yo, that part of my life was just, I keep tearing up because I could not tear up at that point. I was rebuilding a clientele. My father got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer during that time. My baby daddy got married while I was pregnant. I lost my best friend. I lost my apartment. Almost lost my car. I traded shops. Like, it was just a whirlwind. And every day was a decision, like, okay, you got to get through this. You got to do it. And I think that's the answer. Like, that's how you get through it. You just go day by day.
You talk about a couple things that is not always talked about, which is this connection or lack of connection that you might have as a mother to your infants.
Yes. It is extremely difficult when you are in a space. I want to say, like, I felt like I had switched into survival mode with them. Doctor's appointments and this and that. And then, again, I had a very traumatic birth. I almost died on the table. My C-section took 6 hours. It was a 45-minute surgery that took 6 hours. So, like, healing from major abdominal surgery, then I had to be admitted back into the hospital and have another surgery 5 days after having them. I just went into, okay, diapers, okay, daycare, okay, doctor's appointments, okay, breastfeeding. You don't like breast milk, so I gotta give you formula, but you like breast milk, so I'm nursing you. But then I gotta remember if I gave you a bottle. Like, it was literally survival mode. My mom is very present, still to this day, very present. My sisters are very present, still very present. And I have aunts and cousins and people, best friends, people that just really stepped in for me during that time. So I did have support. The problem is, support is not an additional parent. You could support all you want to, but I'm the one that got to put the structures in place. I'm the one that got to go to the doctor. I'm the one that got to stay up all night. It's not nobody to switch off with. And it was exacerbated by the fact that it was 2 kids. So, yeah, I did and do have a lot of support. My support just looks different, I think, than other families, but it's there.
What did it take for you to move yourself through that moment?
I would say, like, losing my father when my kids were 2 was like it's an hour and everything, because people pass away, and, you know, losing a parent is defining in that it pushes you to make sure the relationships are right. You know what I mean? And then, but with the healing, I wanted to make sure that, like, whatever hurt, I did not want to project that onto my kids. Like, I did not, like, whatever I've gone through or experienced or whatever the case, I wanted it to stop with me. I don't want that carrying on to the next generation. So whatever I got to do to heal me, so I'm not projecting onto them, that's what I'm going to do. And I think that's one of the main things. I have been in therapy probably for about 3.5 years now. So I have done therapy. I do writing and storytelling events and stuff like that. I've done some life coaching and just really, and lately it's been like to decenter men, like really just try to see what I like and who I am without the presence of like the male gaze. So that's what I've been working on lately. So I do short stories and poetry and spoken word and performative art. Just kind of like using that as a tool for healing. So a lot of times I don't get to be vulnerable in my day-to-day. So I'm able to be vulnerable in my art.
So we talk about the life that you thought you were going to have. How does it compare to the life that you have right now?
So what's interesting is, for a while, I was still trying to make it work. So I'm like, okay, so I got the kids now, that's cool. So I need the husband. So I'm going to date. And I'm going to date with intention. And I'm going to be in relationships. And I'm going to be faithful. And I'm going to do all the things. And I'm going to just try to be a good woman. And 8 years in, I've had 2 failed relationships. And not only am I nursing a broken heart, now I got to nurse little babies' broken hearts too. That's why I was just like, yeah, I'm going to have to decenter men. Like, we can't even think about men right now, because it's one thing to be heartbroken and I can't get out of bed and I can't eat and I can't sleep and woo woo. It's a whole nother other thing to really feel that in your soul. But you got to take kids to school and they got to be there before 8 o'clock. So you got to get the fuck out of bed. You got to get up. And they can't see you torn apart and down. And I don't want my kids to be like, oh, my mom was so depressed she laid around and she ain't. No. Your mama took it on the nose. She took it on the chin. We talked about our feelings, we let them out, and we got the fuck over it, and we kept going. I don't know that I ever, before this point in my life, got to actually know myself. I was real fine in the era where my look was the it girl. So you don't have to get to know yourself at that point. It's like, I like a long hair, thick, red bone. What? Me? That's me. I'ma stand on the couch. What you mean? That's me. You talking about me. And so for like a lot of my young adult years, I was really like, I'm fine. I don't care. I'm fine. He gonna do it. I'm fine. Woo, woo, woo. And so now, like, I mean, I'm still okay, but like, I'm not like young and hot like I used to be anymore. So like really getting to know the things that I like about myself. And like being able to like really hone in and share those things with others, like that's a level of simplicity that I didn't have back then. That's a level of like deeper knowledge of self that I'm just excited about.
Do you feel like you would have come to this part of awareness, knowing, had you not experienced any of those things?
That's a hard question, because I honestly, if we believe that things are like predestined or preordained, eventually I was going to come into this regardless. And so no matter what path I took, it was going to always bring me back here. I am grateful for, you know, every traumatic experience, every hard time, every time we had to go without or things got tight, because I learned who I am and it shaped me. And so now I'm like, okay, do your worst. I'm good. And I'll be like, you think you doing something? A whole man got married while I was 5 months pregnant. That ain't nothing compared to that, okay? Do it. Do your worst.
What are you really proud about in terms of life and yourself right now?
Right now, I'm proud of the mother that I am. I'm proud of the daughter that I am. I feel like I have been able, for my children and for myself and for my mom even, to like, I feel like I've been able to provide like emotional support in ways that I wasn't necessarily emotionally supported. And so it's really interesting. My mother and I, we had a spat a few years back where we really had to work very hard on our relationship. And I think there's something to be said for two adult women who have really changed the way they view each other in a good way, in a respectful way, in the I honor you and you honor me type way. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of where I am in my career. You know, I was a person that was always taught like, oh, you're smart, you're a genius, woo woo. You got to go to college, you got to do this, you got to do that. And so to have taken that and went my own way and like literally been self-employed for the last 14 years and do well for myself, like I'm really proud of that too. I like myself. I'm proud of that. I like myself. I like what I'm doing.
So what does future success, happiness, joy, joyful Jolisa, what does that look like when you think about who you talking to 10 years from now? Who is she?
What's funny is 10 years ago, me probably wouldn't have thought that I would be this me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even know what 10 years from now is going to look like. My kids will be grown. I'll be 46 when they're 18. So that's going to be interesting to have spent a good majority of your adulthood taking care of other people, to not have them have such like immediate needs that I have to meet. So that'll be interesting. Cool. I don't know. We'll see. Just gonna take it day by day. Jolisa is strong and self-reliant and capable and creative and loving and kind, generous, nurturing.
Any lessons that you learn again? Or
Yeah, let me tell you what I tell my young self.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I tell my young high self. Okay, number 1, birth control don't work if you hyperovulate. If you make more than 1 egg every month, it's not gonna work for you, girl. Plan Bs don't work. Don't work. Don't work. Don't work. Don't share your body just because you can. Share it because it's an honor and a privilege to share space with you. That little doing hair stuff that you did, that you thought that was your soft option, you're gonna be published everywhere. You're gonna do things you never thought you could do.
Period.
Jolisa's story reminds us that healing isn't linear. It's a journey of self-discovery, setbacks, and breakthroughs. And that through honesty, community, and resilience, we can reclaim our power and step into a version of ourselves that are stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our truth. Fly high, sis. We're rooting for you.